work. With the introduction of our SOS Care Promise in 2018, we are reminded of the need for an uncompromising commitment to quality at the highest level across all programs. As we continue to realize our Strategy 2030 to support the achievement of the Sustainable Developmental Goals, it is this SOS Care Promise that becomes the foundation of our work. Our SOS Care Promise ensures consistent quality around the world, regardless of the highly diverse and often challenging environments. This is how our children will receive the right support and care in order to flourish and fully realize their potential. This is our SOS Care effect. And this care effect plays a central role in the lives of children and youth, since the challenges that they have to face nowadays are as manifold as they are complex. A key element in ensuring that they will be able to become self-sufficient and independent is youth employability through global initiatives, such as the joint cross-sectoral global initiative with UNICEF, Generation Unlimited, or as they say nowadays, I'm from the last millennium, Gen U, to make sure that every youth by 2030 is either gainfully employed in training or education. And also through our program Youth Can, for example, SOS and our partners jointly create uplifting and exciting opportunities for young people that strengthen their employability potential. These opportunities enable them not only to gain the relevant experience, skills, and knowledge, but also to build their confidence as they step into the world independently. Youth Can inspires, consults, and supports SOS member associations and their partners, be it corporates, entrepreneurs, small businesses, NGOs, or similar alliances to replicate, to leverage, and to further develop already existing employability partnerships at all levels, be it at national or global levels. We are also grateful for our various global partnerships that aim to improve the overall situation for children and youth in our target group, such as the Joining Forces initiative with the other 5 largest child-focused agencies, or the Global Partnership on Ending Violence Against Children. The exceptional work being done in our programs and through these global partnerships complement each other and support our efforts to build a better future for the children in our care. In order to be a catalyst for change and to reach more children, we need to continue to raise as much funds as possible locally. SOS Children's Villages India has done a fantastic job, and we are confident, together with our donors, that you will continue to do this. Thank you to each of you. You have, in many ways and different capacities, given your time, resources, and energy in order to come that far. SOS Children's Villages International has been supporting SOS Children's Villages India for the last 54 years, and it is heartening to see the impressive work that has been done. it is evident that as India is well advanced on its path to sustainability. So congratulations once again. It is indeed a very proud moment for all of you, for us as a global organization, and I'm honored to be part of this celebration today. Nandri.
Thank you, Mr. Norbert, for your explanatory talk regarding the SOS movement. And I'm happy to say, and I'm one among the 27, and the qualities of trust and zero compromise on quality is what we have learned all these years from SOS Chetnath Homes. We welcome Mr. Siddhartha Kaul, President, SOS International. He's no stranger to us. He took his first steps in SOS movement as village director of SOS Village Chetnath Homes in Tambaram 40 years ago. And now he's here. Permit us to call you Siddharth Uncle, affectionately, as the President of SOS International. Uncle, we have a surprise for you. Okay. The first 3 children under 3 weeks old babies whom you brought 700 kilometers away from Tambaram on a rickety vehicle on bad roads are here today to meet you and to make this evening a momentous occasion. Now I call upon Kritika Akka, Meenakshi Akka and Kritika Akka to greet Uncle.
I'm also very happy. You all look my size only now. All 3 of you have prospered like me. We will talk later. Huh? Thank you. Thank you. I want to speak. Yes, sir. Okay, thank you very much. No, this is not my speech. You can remove this. Dear Mr. Seshai, I hope I got the name right. I've been trying to practice it for some time. Almost okay. Dear friends of SOS family, for me personally, it's a personal occasion that I have returned. I try to come back as often to Tambaram as I can for no other reason than to sleep. You know, it's very important when you are traveling and going different places that you have some place which you can go, rest, and reflect. And Tambaram is one of those places which is a symbol of commitment. Very few people know that Mrs. Narayanan was entrusted this responsibility by her grandfather to do something for children, and she, supported by Valli, Mrs. Alagappan, made this a reality. And that is what SOS is all about, to fulfill a commitment which we make. You make a promise to a child that I will make a family for you, and you have to try this every day to fulfill this commitment. And that's what the story of SOS Children's Villages is. Our founder, Dr. Hermann Meiner, after the Second War, came up with this idea to create a family for children who had lost everything, and that this family should be as close as it is possible to a natural biological family. It's not possible to replicate it, but try and get close to it, because every child deserves to be brought up in a normal family environment. Don't take it away from this child. And this is what he wanted to try. And I'm one of the few people left of that generation who had opportunity to talk to him. And his idea was that Europe was changing. There will be peace. Everybody is tired of war and fighting. And he will make this one children's village and then maybe another one, and the world will be at peace. Many of us thought that. Unfortunately, that brilliant idea that there will be peace in the world never realized. Many other things happened. Today, SOS Children's Villages family is in 135 countries and territories around the world. Some of them are extremely difficult places to work, not like Madras or Chennai, which are much, except the traffic in Chennai, this is much easier to work. People are more receptive, people are more open, but there are places which are very difficult. UNICEF estimates, let's say guest estimates, there are over 220 million children. To Indians, that doesn't sound a very big number. We are 1.2 billion, so what is 220 million? But to some parts of the world, 220 million is a very large number of children who need help. And out of this 220 million, it is anticipated that 1/10 of them have no idea who their parents are. So it's a small number, you may say, 20 million. As the world goes by, and nobody cares for this 20 million, because we are 7 billion people, but to us in SOS Children's Villages, 20 million is by far too large a number. We want this number to come down, because every child is somebody who is special. Is somebody special. You meet the 3 girls now. I still remember coming from Vijayawada. I would not say it was a rickety van. Karthik made the van, so please don't say it was rickety. It was perfectly fine van. The road was very, very bad. Okay, so we came and we had 3 of them. And today they sit with you and you can see them. What can be done if people make a commitment? If people are willing to give a little bit. I'm not asking too much. I know you will never give me too much. I just want a little bit from you. A little money, a little time, a little energy, a little support. You give a little bit, somebody else gives a little bit, somebody else gives a little bit, then you can have a huge pot and you can do something. Not only in the international, but in India. I'm very sorry, by birth I'm an Indian, and there was this fight going on in the morning. So I said, I have lost my nationality long ago, apart from carrying an Indian passport. In India, we are very proud of talking about family systems. We are very proud of an extended family systems. We talk a lot about Indian culture, and now lately we talk a lot about Indian economy and the fastest growth rate in the world. We talk a lot about these things. But sometimes you have to sit down and reflect a little bit. There are still 400 million children, 400 million people in this country who live below the poverty line, and over 200 million people who live below extreme poverty line. When I meet my colleagues around the world, I feel embarrassed and ashamed at times. And I think it is time that in India, our government and our people learn that how we will take care of our own people, our vulnerable section of society. After all, society is known by how it treats its weakest section of people. Society is not known by its rich people, because they are far and few. But those who suffer are a huge number, and that's what we have. So I would like to appeal to you, and I want to appeal especially to the elder generation, I count myself in them now, to find the younger generation. We have done it for 70 years. We have done it in India for 54 years. We have done it in Chennai for 40 years. But you can't do it forever. You can't do it forever because you are not going to live forever. You will not have the energy to do this forever. And the important thing is to find a next generation which will do this and will do a better job than what we have done. And that's what I want to appeal to you. Find the next generation which will do this much better than what we have done, and hopefully one day we will reach a situation where there will be no need for them to come to a children's village. I thank you very much, and on a very personal note, I would also like to recall some of the people who helped me personally when I lived in Chennai for a couple of years. Mrs. Narayanan has mentioned Muthu Krishnan, and I remember him very fondly. I very especially remember her husband, Karthik, with his fascinating sense of humor, and he had a very great repertoire of jokes, which sometimes he didn't crack in front of her. This also I must tell you. He cracked only those jokes in front of Muthu and I don't know why I was a privy to those jokes, because maybe I was an outsider, not from Tamil Nadu. But great sense of humor, and the support which I received personally during those years. I had best of my time in Tamram. I had the worst of my time in Tamram. I almost died in Tamram of malaria, and I think she got very, very scared. And she picked me up and dumped me in a hospital very quickly because she didn't want to answer to my parents what she done with their son. But I had a great time. I enjoyed myself. And very important, I learned from our mothers in Tamram what it means to be a guardian. What it means to be a guardian, what it means to give your commitment and promise. So let us promise that we will continue to do this. Let us promise that we will do whatever little bit we can so that we have a generation which is better than what we had. I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle. Thanks for that emotional, spellbound speech. We are happy to have Mr. Sandilya, President SOS India, with us today. He has been part of Aisha Group for many years under different capacities, and presently its chairman. He has mentored many people during his career and lifted them to high positions. He is also a votary of alternative medicine and propagates it. Mr. Sandilya is on the board of chairman of several corporates. Sir, now I take the privilege to invite you to release the first copy of oral history and hand it over to the dignitaries.
This is the English summary of the book.
That's very important. Tamil, I still can't read.
It's just some excerpt. The entire thing could not be translated. So the English version. This is also English version for you. I thought it was a Tamil version.
That's a
Tamil version. Anyway, you can read Tamil. He's an author. He writes books and he writes that.
Thank you, sir. We would like to listen to you.
Are you sure?
Sure, sir.
the way she said we would like to listen to you.
Beloved children are now currently youth working, and I think three girls who came in here are really nice, and Valarmati, I think it's really nice to see you also. And ladies and gentlemen and people sitting here, a good evening to you. My heartiest congratulations to SOS Chatnath Homes on its 40 years of very successful experience, and 40 years in a life I think is very small if you look at it in a larger sense. We talk about 100 years and many more years, and I'm sure they will have many more years of things, whether we are all alive or not, but I think the organization will continue to bring up children. Actually, I didn't know that I got to speak. I think Umar Aran told me that I had to release the book and sit down, and I thought that's my job, it's over. But he says I've got to speak also. I think what I will do is I'll use this opportunity to give some idea about what is covered in this book, and I just browse through the book. It's an excellent book, and I'm sure many of you will pick it up in case it's being distributed today or otherwise. It got stories of our mothers and children. It's an oral history as they talk about it. And they've interviewed mothers to share their experiences of what they've gone through in this SOS Chatnath homes. There are some children who have talked about their experiences. It's amazing. There's one story which talks about a mother, Kamala, who brought up children, and one Radhakrishnan, the story is also covered here, and how she took care of him, the boy who had nothing in his life, and he came in and he was really suffering. He thought may not kind of pull through for many years, but brought up by that lady. And when she retired, she handed over Radhakrishnan to another mother, Kumari. She is a Telugu-speaking mother, whereas the mother who brought him up was a Tamil-speaking mother. Tremendous trauma. You can imagine a child changing a mother. We all talk about coming in a family with one mother, and here is a situation where there's a mother changing, and he realized that what is going to happen? Am I going to have a normal life? I'm going to have a problem? But it so happened that he got into the family in a very nice manner, and he was very happy. And today he says, I've got two mothers. And the beauty is the same Radhakrishnan, after some years when his mother Kumari retired and the new one coming in, he facilitated his other brothers and sisters to say that this will be a good experience for you, and the new mother will be equivalent to the other mother that was taking care of you. And that is SOS for you. It doesn't matter. They are not biological mothers. These mothers bring up their children as their own children. And there are mothers who have shared their experience where they have all come from traumatic experiences. Some of them would have got divorced very early. Some of them could have had different kind of experiences. With their trauma, when they come and bring up children who also come with the trauma and make them live and make them good citizens of this world, I think it's a great experience. When I go to the villages, I meet mothers, go talk to them. Some of them in Chennai, I've met them. I ask them, how many children do you have? I ask them, how many children do you have? They tell me I brought up 30 children, 27 children, 28 children. And I see the smile on their face and my day is made. And that's the kind of passion they have for the children. We just met Meenakshi, who came here. She is the daughter of the first mother, Amudamma, here. She is no more. And she brought up a boy, Arjun. And the Arjun story I keep telling to many people is a very unique story. When the boy came into the village, he had some physical problem, a disability. And the doctors have pronounced that he will not survive more than 10 years. They said 5 years, max 10 years he will live. But this lady, Amudamma, who's no more, but he said, no, I want to make him live. Allopathic medicines didn't help, allopathic treatment didn't help. And then she took upon herself, say, I will now give him Siddha treatment. Every day she will carry this boy to a doctor who is far away. So Siddha Vaidya gave Siddha medicines. And ultimately that boy is alive, not only alive, he studied and graduation. As recent today I heard he done post-graduation, he is working somewhere. And it so happens that she had written in her will that he will be the one who will do my final rites. And the kind of flat that he bought, she gave it to Meenakshi and Arjun, and both of them live in that house. Arjun is married today with a child. That is the affection, that is the emotional involvement these mothers have with the children. They are brought up and made children live through their life who have been given up by best of doctors that they can't survive. And that's SOS for you. But what I will do is, that's all covered in this book, and I think when you read, you'll get stories and stories. There are quite a few of them. But just talking about the stories, not even, I thought I'll give you a little more background about SOS as an organization. Both Mr. Norbert Meder and Siddhartha Kaul have given you some background about what we do, for the commitment that the mothers have, the way we bring up our children. But I think it's a little more than just that, because I think one is at the villages that we have these locations. He talked about 135 countries and more than 500 villages that we have got. India is the single largest country operation in the SOS world. We have 32 villages in 22 states, taking care of 27,000 children in broadly 2 different kinds of programs. The family-based care he talked about is the one we call family-like care, where these villages, we have 15, 20 homes. In each home, there is a mother, and a mother looks after 8 to 10 children. We all know to bring up 1 child, 2 children in family is so difficult. These mothers toil day in and day out, 25/7, bring up 8 to 10 children. Give them education, give them life, take care of their nutrition, send them to school and colleges, and ultimately get employment. This is an area where we have 7,000 children in these 32 villages. Then we have a family strengthening program, which is a preventive program. Around our villages, we take a few clusters where we identify families who are extremely poor. Their income levels are so low that they cannot take care of the family, the children are very vulnerable. So we ensure that these children are given health care, given nutritional meals in their education. Then for the families, we provide them vocational training or any other means of self-help group, give them loan to give them a sustainable income level. And I'm happy to share with you over the last 3-4 years in India, we have increased their income by 3 to 4 times from what they were earning, so that these families reach a sustainable level so that children are not abandoned. So it's a preventive program. We have about 17,000 children on this. Now, in addition to these two, we are now experimenting or doing piloting for a kinship program where the children go and live with their close relatives, uncles or aunts or whatever. And we are trying to see whether that could help, because ultimately for children, it's good to be in a proper family. So we are trying to bring that up as a family program. I think what Mr. Siddhartha Kaul said is very important, and I want to leave the thought with you. We have been successful in India by increasing the number of donors and contributions we get from the corporates to a significant level, but it's not enough. The entire Europe is saying India is doing well, growing faster, so why can't you support yourself? Why do you need money from Europe? We have reached a level where dependence has come down, but still we are getting money from Europe. So one of our targets for the India operations is to become totally self-sufficient. We are looking at between 2020 2021, we should have 100% of our money requirement bring up from within the country. And I'm sure a lot of people sitting here, you will spread the news. But unfortunately, though we have been there for the last 54 years in India, 98% of the people I meet don't know about the organization. I sit in a flight, next neighbor, I talk to him, give my card, is my social card, SOS. They say, what do you do? Then I start explaining to them. Next half an hour on the flight, he is bored to death. I keep giving him complete stories. I share about 20 different children's stories, because I meet a lot of these children, youth settled in life, and I give them the stories, talk about people like the Arjuns and the Meenakshis and others. And then they go, oh my God, is that so? Then I invite them to visit the village, they visit the village, then they start supporting. So we have been able to add a lot of donors. We've got 40,000 individual donors today. We have got a lot of corporates who become members. So my appeal is we need to increase that number to such a large extent that we are self-reliant over the next couple of years. And I'm sure all of you will spread the message. I think my point is, it is not enough to give money, but talk about it. Talk to people about what we do. Invite them to our villages. Make them visit what we do, see what we do. If people go and see what we do, they get transformed. Totally, they get transformed. They say, oh my God, is that what you do? They don't know. Many of them don't know. Even yesterday, I met one lady who is running a Rajalakshmi Engineering College. Yesterday, I met her in the gym, the Global Investor Meet. I gave her my card. She looked at it. I said, what do you do? So I explained to her what we do. Oh, that's interesting. Debu yesterday sent her an email in the night. Today, she has responded, my God, this is very good. I went to your website. I want to visit your village. He has put in touch with her son. So she is going to now start going there. Her education institution, she can help us in terms of skill building and education and so on. So that's the kind of thing about SOS. I've given you a broad brief of what we do. Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to SOS Chetnath Homes for the 40 years and many more years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Uncle. Thank you for giving a very detailed and a clear program, what the SOS is doing all these years. And now, a guest of honor, Mr. R. Sesashai, has been chairman of Ashok Leyland, chairman of board of Infosys. He's a well-known speaker, a literary person. He has multiple social engagements in different capacities with Cancer Institute, SCARF, and Kriya University, and few more. He's also vice president of Music Academy. Now, I request SOS Chetnath Home trustee, Gayatri Sriram Madam, to give him a token of appreciation. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, in the run-up of today's event, there are few people who have really contributed a lot for this evening to be a memorable one. So I invite you to honor them. I call upon Mrs. Lata Menon, producer and director of Iris Films, cinematographer, documentary maker, who has taken enormous pain to do a film specially for SOS, which will be shown in the end. Thank you, ma'am. I call upon Mr. Srinivas Krishnan, the founder of Global Rhythms, World Music Ensemble, and Artistic Director of LEAPS Foundation, engaged in student outreach initiatives. We are privileged to have him train our children for a choir singing, which is going to happen tomorrow in the village. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Narmada works with editorial team in Tamil Daily, Dinamalar, and edits children's magazine. She put in extraordinary hard work and spent many hours listening to the oral histories and voice recordings of our mother, children, co-workers, and settled youth, helped them in transcribing them, and gave a shape to the oral history. Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Krishnaveni, also a Tamil writer, has been Narmada's team member. Kindly join us, ma'am. Mr. Dilip, there is no one who knows better about contemporary Tamil fiction and Tamil books. He has been kind enough to edit the Tamil version of oral history. Thank you, sir. Ms. Subhashri, Professor of Asian College of Journalism, has been in publishing page for decades. She is a critic and translator of Tamil stories since earliest times. She has been judged for crossword awards. She has edited the English version of oral history. Thank you, ma'am. So now we would like you to address the gathering.
Good evening. May I add my words of hearty congratulations and very warm felicitations to all of you who have been a part of this wonderful journey for 4 decades. A journey that you have traveled with 2 wheels, one of love, another one of commitment. And what a way to spend an evening with all of you. I'm delighted that I had this opportunity, and I must thank Uma for this. The beautiful moment when Mr. Kaul embraced the 3 kids who have now grown into very confident young women. The beautiful moment of celebration when the 2 founders who are here will go back nostalgically and remember the days when they started this journey. I'm sure this must have been an extremely challenging journey, but to have come to this level and to be a part of the celebration, it must be a fantastic moment for all of you. So I'm very, very happy and very thankful to all of you for giving me this opportunity to be part of this wonderful celebration, particularly so because we are living in a world which is getting increasingly narrowly defined by identities in an environment that is full of negativity. And then to come and spend an evening here with this group of people where you have laid a foundation for an institution which is based on love for humanity, care for the underserved and the underprivileged, it is truly a wonderful moment. I actually thought that my task was to say something about book, and therefore I read cover to cover, and I must compliment the authors which have produced a wonderful book, but since my friend Sandy has already covered that, no, I don't think I've changed my mind. I said I would rather not do that and let everyone savor this excellent prose that has been put together. On the other hand, I was provoked to some thinking about what Mr. Kaul said, and I think he made again an extremely thought-provoking speech. Some of the points that you brought out is something which I thought I would also share my thoughts on what you had very in a very sketchy way outlined. You talked about the fact that we have something close to 200 million children in the world who are looking for a family, and this is a staggering number. And to think that we have solved the problem, and to think, even to hope that after the war, that we will not have a situation, not have a world where people would not be displaced, where we would not have a situation where the families would be broken, and to think that that dream has been broken, and we see increasing agony as a result of displaced persons in the world. Immigrants is one of the most challenging problems that the world faces today. And then to say, to take us back and say, where are we going wrong? What is it that is holding this humanity back from where it should be moving towards? And if you look at it, if we stop and think about that, the world today, roughly 50% of the world is not within democratic form of government. And the 50% which is within the scope of democracy is shrinking, not growing. There's only 15% of the 7.7 billion people that we have on this planet who truly can say that they have a true democracy. Now, why is this very important? This is important because this is the only political social order which has as its kernel the principle of equality and fraternity. To therefore say that 50% of the world is already not committed to a framework of equality, and there's only 50% of humanity which is committed to a framework of equality, it itself is starting off with a disadvantage. And indeed, in these democratic countries, do we see equality? Is humanity really can stand up and say, yes, we are equal? There's another study which has come just a few days ago from Oxfam, which says that the inequality in the world is actually widening from an economic perspective. 300 people in the world today have more wealth than 50% of the 7.7 billion people. 29 people in India have more wealth than half the population of India. Now that's the level of inequality. And can we truly pretend and say, yes, we are all equal? Can we say that in a history that has had very, very long chapters written about the caste system, can we truly stand up and say that after 70 years, when we have declared ourselves to be equal under a constitution under which all of us have come together, can we truly say that we are equal, that everybody is now on the same platform? The answer to that is clearly no, but at least a democratic institution, a democratic system says, we will strive towards equality. We will strive and move through a journey which will take us to equality and fraternity. And what does a state do in this situation? The state does two things. The state or the government does two things. First, it enacts laws in order to command equality. So you have a plethora of legislations coming into the Constitution says that there shall be no discrimination on the basis of caste, on the basis of religion, on the basis of gender. So equality is completely enshrined in our Constitution and guaranteed by our Constitution. That's what the state can do, and it passes legislation. But the legislative intent for equality and the ability of implementation is normally a huge gap, particularly in a country with a long history like ours. Between the intent of the legislation and the ability to implement the law, there's a large gap. And you've seen this happening repeatedly in several kind of situations that in recent times have been coming about. And then if the society is in a position to, or then the government is in a position to implement, does that bring about behavioral changes in terms of equality? The gap is even wider. And we see this in every aspect, in religion, in Sabarimala, wherever. I'm not going into the rights and wrongs of any situation, but the fact of the matter is that we are far removed from the goal of our political and social order to say that we will be equal. So this is one that the state does. Another thing that the state usually does, beyond legislation, is to provide entitlement to those who are not equal. So you have the quota system. You have job quotas, you have employment quotas, you have educational quotas, you have a quota system. You have reservations, 10%, 15% for this or that. And we have seen in the long history that entitlement merely confirms mediocrity. It merely takes away the initiative to compete and come up and realize the full potential, as the words that Mr. Kaul used. Therefore, entitlement has not equaled the population. It is a step towards that. The intent is towards that. But the result has not been commensurate with the intent. Therefore, we have an unequal world. I mean, there are people who believe that the world is flat. I think this was a very popular slogan some years ago to say that the world has become flat. The world is never flat. The planet is never flat. You've got the meadows and the valleys, and you've got the mountains and the rivers. So we are in a planet that is fundamentally unequal, and we have people and humanity which are fundamentally unequal. And yet, the society which is committed to itself in a democratic framework to a constitution to provide equality must also have the responsibility, must have the conscience to move something to achieve that goal. And I see that this effort that all of you have so successfully implemented, that this effort is the representation, is the manifestation of the social conscience to say, yes, we are going to provide equality. We'll move towards providing equality. We don't want the vulnerable children to feel that they are inadequate, that they are left behind. We want them to feel that they are part of the societal love that we are capable of doing, that we are empowering them to be able to get their full potential to be realized and compete in the world. And therefore, the effort of this nature is truly the manifestation of the feeling of social responsibility and the societal conscience, which cannot be done away with. This is the more successful model within a democratic framework to achieve the goals of equality, while the state will struggle with its legislation, with its entitlement, and with its quotas. This is far more powerful. The 27 that we've talked about, the 3 that we have seen today, are really the evidence of success of the representation of a social conscience to move towards providing equality. And that is why this is not merely a celebration of 40 years of an institution. This is a celebration of the spirit of social conscience that is still very, very active and alive in an environment which is getting to be more and more toxic. This is also a celebration of the fact that people are putting the interest of others in front of themselves. Human beings are not the only social animals. You know, there are several, in the animal kingdom, there are several groups of animals and insects which are all socially bound together. There is this wonderful thing about ants. I don't know how many of you know that ants work in a society, in a close society, and have a very serious and a very sincere commitment to the responsibility as a part of the society. In an ant hill, the ants which are old and infirm go out of the anthill and stay there to offer themselves as prey to the predators, so that the more healthy ants inside the anthill could thrive. That is the extent of sacrifice that you see in the animal kingdom. The fact that there have been so many mothers who have come in and have put the interest of the children in front of them and ahead of them, ahead of their interest. I'm sure that the wonderful stories that I've read here, each one is an evidence of the interest of the self being put behind the interest of the wards, of the children. And this is the inspiration that this is the kind of feeling, the spirit, the inspiration that we're celebrating today. We're also celebrating a very unique and a noble way of giving. You know, the Bhagavad Gita talks about 3 methods of giving. One is the Rajasic method. The Rajasic method of giving of charity, the Gita says, that's being very aggressive in your charity. You know, if you have, for example, a servant maid coming and asking for an advance, your tendency is to say, tell the maid, no, 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 you ought to be managing your finances much better. You have to live within your means. You know, you shouldn't be spending that. Why would you come and ask me for advance if time and again? You only got this 3 months ago. The Gita says, you have no business to preach. Or the commentators of Gita say that if you can't give, don't give. But don't go and offend. The sentiment of someone who's asking for alms, because the person who's coming to you asking for alms or asking for help or support is in need. So if you can't do, it's fine. But you have no business to go and offend. I'm reminded of an incident that my mother would quote very often. She used to be an associate of Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy. And as you know, and most of you know, Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy was an extraordinary person who built several institutions, was way ahead of her times, and looked at the needs of the humanity in a manner that I think very few other women, few other persons in this country have looked at. And she was one of the pioneers in building medical services, and she built this Cancer Institute, which all of you are, I'm sure, aware of. And while she was doing that, and she at that time, there were no sponsorships and this concept was not there, so they would go, my mother and Dr. Reddy would go from door to door, knocking at the doors and saying that, can you give some money for building this institution or the other? And so there was one occasion when both of them had gone to a very well-known, wealthy family in Chennai. I will not mention the name because I'm sure that a lot of you would know. And here was the women of the house, and she looked at, she saw them both coming in, and she said, oh, you come once again. Only last week you came to get something for some institution, now you're coming again. You have no other business other than coming and constantly asking for money for one thing or the other. So she roundly thrashed them for coming, having the courage and the temerity to go and knock the door. And when both of them were coming out, Dr. Reddy saw a pumpkin creeper, and then there was a pumpkin there. So she told my mother that let's go back and ask this lady whether we can take her with a pumpkin for our way home for a lunch. So sure enough, they went back, and then the lady said, okay, take that pumpkin away. So the story about the moral of that is that when you're in a public cause, don't ever give up. You know, don't ever take it personally. You will keep knocking at the doors. But the other part of that is that people who don't want to give have no business to go and offend. That's the Rajasic method. Then there is a Tamasic method. The Tamasic method is the giver's prominence is more important than the receiver's need. You know, this is where you have all this kind of, donated by so-and-so. You have even if you go to a temple, you got a tube light in which somebody says, this has been donated by Ramasamy Chettiar, just in case that the god forgets that the Ramasamy Chettiar is the one who has eliminated the sanctum. So that's where you put yourself in the front and the receiver is behind. I often tell my wife that this habit of giving blouses for gift, it follows the same pattern, that you don't worry about the need of the receiver. You do this only because it is a currency, hopefully, so whether it's used or not. So that is where you put yourself and you don't really look at the need of the receiver. And then the Gita goes on and says, the only way that true charity must happen is when the need of the receiver is felt and you address the need. And this is an extremely good example of where this particular initiative on SOS has gone to address the need of emotional support at a vulnerable age. This is not about writing checks. You know, Paramacharya of Kanchi made a statement which stayed in my mind. And he said it's very important, very noble for a wealthy man to spend a few hours doing work, put in physical work in charity. And it is very, very noble for a small laborer to give a few rupees for charity, because it is a value that is important. And therefore, the manner in which you address the need and your ability to do this, giving the emotional support through your effort rather than just writing checks, that I think is an illustration of the kind of the sattvic way of giving. And this spirit of the sattvic spirit of giving is what we're celebrating today. And finally, I also think that we are celebrating the very transient nature of our life. If you're a giver today, you could be a receiver tomorrow. If you're a giver in one generation, you could be a receiver in the next generation. The way that SOS has been built up and having the children who have come out of this place to give back, it doesn't matter how much they give back. But the spirit of commitment, the joy of giving back, and as I said, if they give a few rupees, and if they are earning maybe a low income, but still giving some part of that, is to my mind an extremely noble way of reminding ourselves that there is no difference between a giver and a receiver. It's all very transient. I was in a school some weeks ago in Tiruttani, which one of the schools that I support. And this is a school, by the way, it's a private school, where 80% of the parents have less than 7,000 rupees per month in terms of remuneration. And nearly 35% are single parent. And I was there on that day when I was going through the records. The teacher in charge of one of the class came to say that we would like you to come out and receive something, some donation. So I was quite flabbergasted as to who would come and give a good donation to the school, and why would this happen in this way. When I went out, there was a lady who I later understood was someone who had a couple of cows and a single mother whose child was there. And she had brought in 5 liters of milk because one of the children, not her child, one of the children had a birthday that day. And I was completely blown. The value of that kind of gesture, I think, is enormous. So I believe that that is the spirit of giving that we're celebrating. The manner in which the giver and the receiver are part of the same system, and the fact that there can be so much of empathy, I think is something which is, to my mind, a spirit that we need to celebrate. I'm not surprised, therefore, that we have crossed this 40 years of this wonderful journey, because it is founded on some foundations of some extraordinary values, and those are the values that we're celebrating. We shouldn't forget these values, because these values, these anchors of these values, will take us for another 40 years, another 100 years, because the problem is not going to go away. No matter what, you will have the 200 million, and the next generation will still have 250 million. And if we can't do what we can do in one lifetime, if we can't do what we are capable of doing, then I think we have let ourselves down very badly. And I'm sure that this is an institution that will remind everyone that they have no choice but to do what they have to do and what they can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your words of wisdom. Now I request Ramesh and our village director to accompany the dignitaries back to the stage. Yes, sir. So we have another.
I will cheat.
May I invite trustees SOS Chatnath Homes, Gayatri Shrira Madam and Srinath Sir to read excerpts from oral history.
Good evening. Mr. Sandil has already introduced the book to all of you. So we are going to read a couple of passages from the book to bring alive stories that have been shared by a mother and a child who were born. The child was apparently born and brought up in this institution, and the mother reared that child. So we'd like you to hear their voices as we read them to you. We are going to read from what's called an excerpt, because the book itself is much larger and in Tamil, and the stories that we're going to read are in English. So we start the story by talking about Mrs. Valli Alagappan, who's sitting here, because the book starts with her. Valli Alagappan resides on Arunachalam Street in Chennai's Koturpuram. She recollects the day Uma Narayan visited her at the same house 40 years ago, seeking her help to set up SOS homes in Chennai. I'm going to start an SOS school home for deprived children in Madras, and you are going to be my partner. She distinctly remembers Uma's determined words even today.
Thought soon blossomed into action, resulting in 15 homes measuring 1350 square feet in a 5-acre piece of land in the city suburb of Tambaram. Each home, surrounded by a garden, had an amma looking after 10 children. So began the impactful journey of SOS Chatnath Homes, which has touched the lives of several abandoned children. Its family-based care has certainly made an impact on childcare institutions.
At the very place in Koturpuram where the idea took shape, Uma Narayan and Valli Alagappan together recount their 40-year history of SOS Chatnath Homes, Chennai. Uma Narayan says,
I think it was in 1977 or a few years before that the work for SOS began. Around the same time, my grandfather, K. Gopalakrishna, had started the Chatnath Trust after buying 1.96 acres of land from T.T. Krishnamachari.
His idea was to set up a home for male children. I don't know what he had in his mind and why he chose to foster only male children. I did not interfere with his decision when he was alive.
After he passed away, I expressed my intent to my family about continuing his journey. My initial thought was to institute a home for abandoned children. I visited several such homes in the city to study the situation. Most of them were in a pathetic state, and this deepened my resolve to make a difference.
Though I have always been service-minded, it was Uma's persistence that got me into a service of this kind, the SOS, so says Valli Alagappan. I remember one particular evening when we were returning home in a car after celebrating the housewarming of 3 of the first SOS homes. Uma's husband, C.V. Karthik Narayan, said something during that car ride, and I cannot forget it to this day. You two seem to be on cloud 9 and 7th heaven today, but I want to know if you two truly understand the enormity of your undertaking. His words jolted us back to earth, but we responded with nonchalance. Of course we know what we have got into. We will take on the problems as they come.
Indeed, the truth is that we did not quite foresee the magnitude of our undertaking. Today, it overwhelms us when we look back at our 40 years with SOS. Had we not ventured boldly into the service, we would definitely not have experienced the precious experiences and learnings that have changed our lives forever. Surely we have got back much more than what we gave in the first place, says Valli Alagappan, measuring every word, drawing glances from Uma Narayanan.
We are marching ahead with complete consciousness of the changes in the world around us and are working hard to play a relevant and impactful role in today's society. We seek to adapt our SOS system to suit the needs of the times we live in. We believe that our future leaders will carry the baton of change and take SOS to greater heights as we go further.
The founders of SOS Chatnath Children's Homes, who have rendered great service and set standards in the care of homeless children, are immensely clear about their way forward. We will now read an excerpt from Mother Joga Kumari. Spotting an advertisement of SOS in a newspaper, my uncle sent it to me. He must have deemed it fit for me, as he had a strong belief in my working abilities and knew my love for children. I was among the 300 candidates who attended the interview at Visakhapatnam. Among those of us who got selected, a few dropped out during the training period. Sujata and I were sent to Chennai for training. We were then sent to Delhi and Jaipur to complete our sessions. In Chennai, the independent house with a beautiful garden delighted us. When I assumed responsibilities as an Amma, the previous Amma blessed me with 7 of her children, who instantly became mine. It was immensely heartening to hear Kumari say that the previous Amma Kamala blessed me with, rather than customary statements such as they gave me or the previous Amma left me with. Her words so beautifully reveal her deepest thoughts and intent. These words also reflect the keen dedication with which Kamala Amma introduced Kumari to the children and her responsible handing over her duties before she retired. Kamala's dedication seems to have rubbed off on Kumari, who has worked hard to further the cause. It touches our hearts to see how the new mothers have developed with such strong bonds with the erstwhile children of the home who weren't even in the house when they joined. The deep relationships Kumari and Kamala Amma continue to have with their daughters is a beautifully testimony to it. I got the usual talk. Children don't accept second moms easily. A lot of fights are bound to happen, but I wasn't afraid at all. I must admit that some sort of discomfort lurked in my mind. I used to think about the children all the time. Poor them, left behind all alone. I always obsessed about what I could do to keep them happy. What are their favorite foods? What can I cook for them? Should I take them out for a spin? Should I sweeten my talk? How do I become their best friend? After the initial 7 children, 15 more children came under my wing. Today the count of my family since the time of the first mother is 32, she beams.
You will now hear the voice of Radha Krishnan, a boy who was reared in the SOS village and is 37 years old today. When I first went out of SOS to study in a private school, my teacher had written in my diary, "Parents must come for a meeting." I asked Amma, Kamala, "I have you, Amma, but who will be my Appa?" That was the first time I realized my true situation. "Our director uncle will come as your Appa," she said. "We will come to the school together," Amma replied. In a slow and careful manner, she made me understand that I have no biological parents. "I am your Amma," she said. Those 2 days were agonizing for me. How do I realize my state of being? How do I realize it only now? Is this how I am actually going to grow up? These were some of the questions in my head. It took a while for me to realize that I am what I am and make peace with it all. Only then, thoughts about why SOS existed and what it does began to occupy my mind. Amma, the relationships with my sisters, my brothers, the various bonds I have developed at SOS and go beyond, good education, employment, married life, they've all happened to me thanks to SOS. I'm grateful. I understand copies of the book are available outside, and do pick up one as you go away. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am and sir. We hope the book is going to unreveal many more such stories of love, bonding, and building up of lives. Now, the most awaited SOS film will be shown, and followed by the film, there will be national anthem. And I thank you all for being here today and made this event a wonderful one. Thank you again.
VLC. Right click பண்ணு VLC போடு. நான் போட்டுறேன். VLC. நான் போட்டுறேன். லைட் மட்டும். லைட் அங்க. சோ இங்க ஆஃப் பண்ணிட்டுமா இதுக்கு? மேல லைட் ஃபைனல் லைட் ஆஃப் பண்றா லைட் அந்த லாஸ்ட்
இவங்க பேரு ஜோசஃபின். டிப்ளமா இன் ஃப்ரண்ட் ஆஃபீஸ் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் பண்ணாங்க.
ஜோஸ்பின்.
ஹாய் பாப்பு குட்டி. என்ன பண்ண போறீங்க நீங்க? ட்ரெஸ் போட்டுட்டு டாட்டா போலாமா நம்ம?
அவங்க பொண்ணு பேரு இவாஞ்சலின். ஹஸ்பண்ட் ஒரு பிஸ்னஸ்மேன். ஹஸ்பண்ட் ஆஃபீஸை பார்ட் டைமாக டேக் கேர் பண்ணுறாங்க. சின்ன வயசில் ஜோசஃபின் அவள் வீட்டில் ரொம்ப ஹாப்பியாக இருந்தாங்க. அந்த டைமில் அவங்க ஸ்கூல் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் வெளியே இருந்து வந்து பார்த்துட்டு இவ்வளோ சூப்பராக இருக்கு, சான்ஸே இல்லைன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க.
சரி 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 இந்த எப்படி இருக்கு? உனக்கு லைஃப்லாம் எப்படி போயிட்டு இருக்கு?
போகுது.
யாரும் வந்திருக்காங்க?
அப்படியே உன்ன மாதிரியே இருக்கா ஜோஸ்.
சரி, நம்ம எப்போ திருப்பி வீட்டுக்கு வரலாம்? நம்ம எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து ஒரு குரூப் ஆஃப் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாம் மீட் பண்ணுற மாதிரி.
நான் தீபாவளி போகலான்னு இருக்கேன்.
சரி, செம்ம ஐடியாடி. அன்னைக்கு செம்மையாக பிளான் பண்ணலாம் நம்ம.
ஜோசஃபின் அவங்க வாழ்க்கையை ரொம்ப பாசிட்டிவாகவும் கான்ஃபிடென்ட்டாகவும் பார்க்குறாங்க. அதே அனுபவம் அவங்க குழந்தைக்கு கிடைக்கணும்னு விரும்புகிறாங்க.
இவங்க கோமதி. அவங்களுக்கு இன்னைக்கு கல்யாண நாள். கோமதிக்கு லவ் மேரேஜ் தான் நடந்தது. ஸ்கூல்ல இருந்தே இவங்க 2 பேருக்கும் பழக்கம் இருந்தது. காலேஜ்க்கு வேற வேற இடத்துக்கு போயிட்டதுனால பார்த்துக்க முடியல.
ஹாப்பி மேரிட் லைஃப். ஹாப்பி மேரிட் லைஃப்.
மேரேஜ்க்கு அங்கிள்கிட்ட கேட்டாங்க. அங்கிள் வீட்டில் கேட்டுக்க சொல்லிட்டாரு. அப்பாவும் ஒத்துக்கிட்டாங்க. ஆனா அம்மா தான் எங்க கோமதியை தனியா விட்டுருவாங்களோன்ற பயத்துல ஒத்துக்கல.
விட்டுருவீங்களோ அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு பயத்துல தான் நான் அன்னைக்கு உங்களை அப்படி பேசிட்டேன். இன்னைக்கு நான் பார்க்குறேன், ரொம்பவே நல்லா இருக்கிறா, நல்லா பார்த்துக்கிறீங்கன்னு தெரியுது. ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ். நான் உங்களை திட்டினதுக்கு உங்ககிட்ட சாரி. இந்த கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சம்
இப்போ சுந்தரி அம்மா அவங்களை ஏத்துக்கிட்டதுனால கோமதிக்கும் அவங்க ஃபேமிலிக்கும் ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம்.
ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்குதுமா எனக்கு நீங்கள் வந்தது. எனக்கு எங்கள் வீட்டுக்காரர் இவ்வளோ இதுவாக நினச்சது எனக்கு ரொம்ப இதுவாக இருக்குது. ஏற்றுப்பீங்களோ மாட்டிங்களோன்னு நினச்சேன் 7 வருஷமா. இப்போ எனக்கு ரொம்ப இதுவாக இருக்குது.
எனக்கு சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. நீ ஜாக்கிரதையா இரு, நல்ல பொண்ணா பேர் எடு. தீபாவளிக்கு பசங்க எல்லாரும் வீட்டுக்கு வரா, நீ வா, ஃபேமிலியோட வாங்க.
கண்டிப்பாக வருவோம்மா.
இது அர்ஜுனோட அம்மா கட்டின வீடு. பையன் பிறந்ததுக்கப்புறம் முதல் தடவை ஒய்ஃபும் பையனும் சேர்ந்து வீட்டுக்கு வராங்க. அமிர்தவல்லி அம்மா தான் சின்ன வயசுலேருந்து அர்ஜுனுக்கு எல்லாமே. படிப்பு ரொம்ப முக்கியம், நல்லா கான்சென்ட்ரேட் பண்ணணுன்னு அர்ஜுன் கிட்ட எப்போவுமே சொல்லுவாங்க.
தீபாவளிக்கு வீட்டுக்கு போகிறோம், நீங்களும் வரீங்களா?
நான் மேக்ஸிமம் ட்ரை பண்ணுறேன் எப்படின்ட்டு.
நீங்கள் தான் எஸ்எஸ்ல ஃபஸ்ட்டு குழந்தைல, கண்டிப்பாக வரணும். நீங்கள்
கண்டிப்பாக வரேன்.
அம்மா எங்க அம்மா எங்க அம்மா எங்க அம்மா எங்க பேர் போச்சு போச்சு.
ரொம்ப ஹாப்பியாக இருக்கும்.
சின்ன வயசுலேருந்தே அவருக்கு இந்த ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்குது. அம்மா பெரம்பூர் டாக்டரை பார்க்க மாதம் மாதம் கூட்டிகிட்டு போவாங்க. இப்போ அக்கா தான் அர்ஜுன் கூட இருந்து எல்லா ஹெல்ப்பும் பண்ணுறாங்க. பொதுவாக அவரோட பர்சனல் இன்ஃபர்மேஷனை அதிகமாக யார்கிட்டையும் ஷேர் பண்ணிக்க மாட்டார். ஏன்னா சில பேர் புரிஞ்சுப்பாங்க, சில பேர் கிண்டல் பண்ணுவாங்க.
மணி ஆச்சு, எழுந்துடுறா எழுந்துரு, அண்ணன் வந்திருக்காரு, எழுந்துரு.
இவர் மணிகண்டன், வீட்டுக்கு செல்ல புள்ள.
வரமா
கேட்டது எல்லாமே கிடைக்கும். உருளைக்கிழங்கு பொரியல் தான் இவரோட ஃபேவரட் டிஷ்.
உருளைக்கிழங்கு
எம்ஜிஆர் யூனிவர்சிட்டியில் பிஇ மெக்கானிக்கல் படிச்சுட்டு ஐஐடி பாம்பேல எம்பிஏ, இப்போ ஜெர்மனியில் மாஸ்டர்ஸ் படிக்கிறாரு. இது எல்லாத்துக்கும் அவங்க அண்ணா நரேந்திரனும் அம்மாவும் ஃபுல் சப்போர்ட் கொடுக்குறாங்க.
விசா தான் ப்ரைஸஸ் போயிட்டு இருக்கு. இன்னும் 1 வீக்ல வந்துடும் நினைக்கிறேன். கிளம்பிட வேண்டியதுதான். பாத்துறேன், அம்மா வீடு வேற லோன் இருக்கு.
மணியை வில்லேஜ்ல இருந்து வர பையன் சொல்லிட்டு ஸ்கூல் பசங்களாம் கிண்டல் பண்ணுவாங்க. பதிலுக்கு மணி, உனக்கு ஒரு அம்மா தான்டா இருக்காங்க, எனக்கு 16 அம்மா இருக்காங்கன்னு கர்வமா சொல்வாரு.
எப்படி ஆண்டி இருக்கீங்க?
நீ எப்படி இருக்க? தீபாவளி வந்தியோ?
ஆமா ஆண்டி.
தீபாவளி கொஞ்சம் தலை தீபாவளி உனக்கு உனக்கு தலை தீபாவளியா? இங்க பாருங்க.
எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? ஹாப்பி தீபாவளி அண்ணா.
சல்லா அஸ்ஸலாமா இருக்கீங்களா? எல்லாம் இருக்கீங்களா? வாங்க வாங்க நீங்க எல்லாம் வந்து தீபாவளி கலக்கிட்டு இருக்கீங்க. ஹாப்பி தீபாவளி ஹாப்பி தீபாவளி.
ஓம் மகாகணாதிபதயே நமஹ. ஓம் மகாகணாதிபதயே நமஹ.
ஆனால் நீங்கள் 28 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி எப்படி தான் சமாளித்து வந்தீங்களோ தெரியல. நரேந்திரனை எப்படி பார்த்தீங்களோவா அதை பார்த்து தான் எனக்கே இப்போ தைரியம் வந்தது அபியை பார்க்கறதுக்கு. இப்போ அவளை நான் அது நல்லா கொண்டு வந்திருக்கேன்.
அவள் சின்ன பொண்ணாக இருக்கல்லம்மா இந்த கொஞ்சம் வளர்ந்து
அபிய விமலா அம்மா எப்படி கவனிச்சாங்களோ அதே மாதிரி நரேந்திரனுக்கு வத்சலா அம்மா இருந்தாங்க, அர்ஜுனுக்கு அமிர்தவல்லி அம்மா இருந்தாங்க. அதே மாதிரி SOS வில்லேஜ்ல இருக்கிற எல்லா குழந்தைங்களுக்கும் ஒரு அம்மா இருக்காங்க. ஒரு தாய் தனக்கு பிறந்த குழந்தைய எப்படி பாக்குறாங்களோ அதே மாதிரி இவங்களும் அவங்க சொந்த குழந்தைய பாத்துக்கிற மாதிரி பாத்துக்கிறாங்க. அவங்க மேல அக்கறை எடுத்து அன்பு காட்டி இப்ப வரைக்கும் அவங்க கூட வாழறாங்க. ரிட்டையர் ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் கூட சில அம்மாக்கள் அவங்களோட சொந்த வீட்டையே தாம் பசங்க படிப்புக்காக கொடுக்கறாங்க.
ஜோஸ்பின் இந்த வாட்டி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் தீபாவளி இவாஞ்சலிக்கல்லம்மா.
இந்த தடவை இவாஞ்சல் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் தலை தீபாவளி. தீபாவளி வந்தால் எல்லாரும் நிறைய ஸ்வீட்ஸ்லாம் எடுத்துகிட்டு வருவாங்க. அவங்க என்ன செய்கிறாங்க பார்த்து அதை விட நம்ம ஜாஸ்தியாக செய்யணும். இவாஞ்சலுக்கு அதுவும் ஸ்பெஷலாக வந்திருக்கிறதுனால நிறைய செய்யணும்.
ஒவ்வொரு வீட்லயும் ஒரு அம்மா, 10 அண்ணா, 5 தங்க, 2 தம்பி, ஒரு அக்கான்னு இருந்தாலும் அவங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது ஆச்சுன்னா அவங்க உயிரையே கொடுப்பாங்க. சில அம்மாக்கு ஏதோ ஒரு சூழ்நிலையில கஷ்டம் இருந்தாலும் மத்த பசங்களை வளர்க்கறதுக்காக மறுபடியும் ஏந்திரிச்சு நிற்பாங்க, சிரிப்பாங்க, பசங்களோட படிப்பாங்க, மனசுல இருக்கிறத காட்டிக்க மாட்டாங்க. ஏன்னா ஒரு பக்கம் மத்த குழந்தைங்களுக்கு அவங்க அன்பு தேவை, இன்னொரு பக்கம் இவ்வளவு குழந்தை இருக்கிற அம்மாக்கு எவ்வளவு அன்பு கிடைக்கும். எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து ஒரு குடும்பமா வாழறாங்க, எப்பவுமே சந்தோஷமா இருக்காங்க.
ஆடிட்டோரியம் வந்தாலே உங்களுக்கு என்ன ஞாபகம் வருது?
எனக்கு இங்கே வந்தால் இந்த ஸ்டேஜ் பார்த்து நான் டான்ஸ் ஆடினது தான் ஞாபகம் வரும்.
எனக்கு என்ன என் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் கூட இங்கே திருத்தரமாக மீட் பண்ணுறது தான் ஞாபகம் வரும்.
இங்கே வந்து நிறையா ப்ரே பண்ணுவோம். ஸோ அது அப்புறம் ஃபேன்சி ட்ரெஸ் காம்படிஷன்லாம் அதெல்லாம் ஞாபகம் வருது.
இங்கே வந்தால் டியூஷன் படிக்கிற இடத்துக்கு தான் ஞாபகம் வரும்.
ஞாபகம் வச்சிருக்கேன் அதெல்லாம்.
ஏன்னா
என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் கல்ச்சுரல் ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் ஆக்டிவிட்டி அது நல்லா இருந்துச்சு.
என்ன பொறுத்த அடிவானதான் ஞாபகம் வருது. Being a church child, how do you face the society?
நார்மலாக யோசிக்கும் போது நான் இப்போ நார்மல் பீப்புள் வெளியேருந்து வராங்களே அவங்கள விட நான் வந்து ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங். எந்த ப்ராப்ளம் வந்தாலும் ஃபேஸ் பண்ண ரொம்ப போல்டாக ஃபேஸ் பண்ணுற மாதிரி. ஆமாம் ஓகே.
இங்கே வளர்ந்துட்டு வெளியே போகிறது கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டமாக இருக்குது. அதனால் நானும் அடிக்கடி வில்லேஜுக்கு வரேன். ப்ளஸ் 2 பசங்களை ஸ்பான்சர் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். ஏன்னா இங்கே எனக்கு உரமாக மட்டும் இல்லை, நிறைய பேர் இருந்தாங்க என்னை பார்த்துறதுக்கு.
நான் இப்போவும் அடிக்கடிக்கு அம்மா வீட்டுக்கு போய் வந்துட்டு இருக்கேன். அது எனக்கு ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது.
நான் வந்து எங்கள் அம்மாவை ரொம்ப மிஸ் பண்ணுறேன். அவங்க இப்போ இருந்தாங்கன்னா ரொம்ப சந்தோஷப்பட்டிருப்பாங்க, என் பையனை பார்த்துருப்பாங்க.
நான் வந்து என் ஃபேமிலி அப்படியே SOSலேருந்து வெளியிலே கொண்டு போயிட்டேன். ஸோ எனக்கு ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆனதுக்கும் தே ஹெல்ப் பண்ணி அதனால் ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது. எனக்கு ரொம்ப டிஃப்ரென்ஸ் இல்லை, ரெண்டும் ஒரே மாதிரி தான் இருக்குது.
நான் ஒரு SOS சைல்டு சொல்கிறது நான் ரொம்ப பெருமைப்படுறேன். அதே மாதிரி ஒரு குழந்தைய அடாப்ட் பண்ணுற அளவில் SOS வந்து என்னை ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணியிருக்கு. நான் இப்போ அடாப்டும் பண்ணியிருக்கேன்.
Hello, sir.
Because I want to put this into the, because I couldn't find wonderful. You read so well. Really, I was having tears in my eyes. Worth every minute.
We are going in for our 70th year now. March.
Congratulations. Sitting at the back. Very nice. I wish we had more people.
Oh, that's very nice. Very nice. I want everybody to play a little role.